The next important function that we are going to explain in this class is about the utility function. We all know that what is it? We all know what is a utility. It is the want satisfying power of a commodity or service. An individual demand a particular commodity because of the satisfaction he receives from consuming it. That want satisfying power of a commodity or service is termed as utility. That is, a commodity possesses utility if it satisfies an economic wants. If a commodity satisfies an economic wants, then it has utility. The utility is subjective. Some commodity may be considered as good by one person, but it may not be good for the other person. That is, it is a subjective concept. And the utility function expresses utility as a function of consumption of real goods. The utility can be expressed as a function of the goods consumed as like this. U a function of x1, x2, x3 to xn. That is, these are the various commodities consumed. We have different types of utility like total utility, marginal utility, etc. Total utility means the sum total of utilities obtained by the consumer from different units of a commodity. That is, total utility is the sum total of the utility derived by the consumer from the consumption of a commodity. And marginal utility is the net addition to the total utility resulting from one unit change in the consumption. That is, the addition made to the total utility is termed as the marginal utility. That is, it is the addition to the total utility by having an additional units of commodity. In other words, marginal utility of a commodity is the loss in utility if one unit less is consumed. If there are n commodities with quantities x1, x2 to xn, then total utility is U equal to, or total utility is a function U, a function of x1, x2 to xn. That is, the total utility is the sum of the utilities from the consumption of different units of the commodity. Then this can be specified as U equal to U1 x1 plus U2 x2 plus UN xn. This is the total utility. Marginal utility means the addition or incremental utility. Is the change in total utility that results from one unit change in consumption of the commodity within a given period of time. That is, marginal utility of n equal to total utility of n minus total utility of n minus 1 commodity, or it is the partial derivatives of the total utility function. For any utility function U, a function of xy, the marginal utility of x and y can be specified as it is the partial derivative of the total utility function U, a function of xy, then marginal utility of x equal to dou u by dou x and marginal utility of y equal to dou u by dou y. Marginal utility of a good diminishes as individual consumes more and more units of goods. That is, as consumer takes more units of a good, the extra utility or satisfaction derived from extra units are negative. That is, the second derivative will be negative, or the slope of marginal utility curve is negative. The relationship between the total utility and marginal utilities are given here. The total utility given here, marginal utility is the when total utility increases from 10 to 18, marginal utility is 8. That is, the incremental change is given as marginal utility. The relationship between the marginal utility and total utility is given in the form of the diagram as follows. When marginal utility is 0, total utility is maximum. When marginal utility is negative, total utility starts falling. This concept of utility can be assessed by using two approaches. They are cardinal and ordinal utility approaches. According to the cardinal utility approach, utility can be measured. That is, an individual consumer attach specific value or number of utils from consuming each quantity of goods or combination of goods. According to the cardinalist approach, the utility can be measured. The ordinal utilities theory states that utility is not measurable. It is an ordinal magnitude. The consumer need not know in specific. That is, we cannot assess or attach a specific value to the utility as per the ordinalist theory. And according to the ordinalist approach, utility can take only the rank. That is, it cannot take a specific value. The cardinal utility theory is based on the Marshallian utility. The cardinal utility theory is given. A brief explanation of cardinal utility theory is given here. The Marshallian utility analysis is based on the cardinalism. The cardinal utility theory is based on certain assumptions. That is, the consumer is rational. He aims at maximization of his utility subject to his income constraint. Cardinal utility, that is utility can be measured, and utility is measurable in terms of money. That is, it is measurable, then it can be measured in terms of money. Then, and the fourth important assumption is constant marginal utility of money. That is, marginal utility of money remains constant. Then fifth assumption is diminishing marginal utility. That is, marginal utility of a commodity diminishes as the consumer acquires large quantities of it. Sixth one is consumer has full knowledge of the availability of the commodity and their technical qualities. They possess perfect knowledge of the choice of commodities. And eighth assumption is that consumer knows the exact price of various commodities. And ninth assumption is that there are no close substitute. These are the assumptions of cardinal utility theory, and Marshallian utility analysis is based on the cardinalism. And the cardinal utility analysis explains two basic laws of consumption: law of diminishing marginal utility and law of equal marginal utility. These two laws comes under the cardinal utility analysis. The law of diminishing marginal utility states that the additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of stock of a thing diminishes with every increase in the stock that he already has. It means that under certain condition, additional satisfaction which a person derives from a successive units of thing goes on diminishing. That is, the additional satisfaction means the marginal utility diminishes as consumption increases. And the law of equal marginal utility is the second law. It is known as the Gaussian's second law or law of maximum satisfaction, law of substitution, etc. It is defined by Marshall as if a person has a thing which can be put to several uses, he will distribute it among these uses in such a way that it has the same marginal utility. That is, the consumer will distribute his thing in such a way that the marginal utilities of different distributions are the same. This means that in the process of utility maximization, consumers substitute goods with higher utility with those of lesser utility. These are the two important laws. Here, the utility function shows the function relationship between the quantity consumed and the utility derived.